Hey there and welcome back. If you're house hunting in Blacksburg, Christiansburg, or really anywhere in the New River Valley, you might already know this, but the market is still super competitive despite what national headlines say about the country's housing market. Here, homes in desirable neighborhoods or with great amenities are still moving really quickly and often attract multiple offers. So how do you make your purchase offer stand out from the others? And how can you write a strong offer without overpaying or putting yourself at risk? Well, today we're breaking down the 7 most important components of a strong home purchase offer. These are the things that sellers care about most when deciding which buyer to go with. Now, these aren't just technical details, these are strategic levers that you can use to get noticed, get accepted, and get the keys to your next home. As always, my name is Grant Irby, your trusted real estate resource right here in Blacksburg, Virginia and the New River Valley. And we're here to help you win with real estate. And it's our goal with this YouTube channel that it's your #1 resource for really all the things that you need to know, both about relocating to the area and living here. And please, if you find this information helpful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, if you are actually thinking about making a move to our area, I would love to be the realtor that you choose to work with. All right, let's jump in. #1, and probably no surprise here, is the purchase price, but also the escalation clause. So the first and most obvious piece of your purchase offer is the purchase price. And in this market, price matters, but strategy matters just as much. If you have a reason to believe that you're in a multiple offer situation and you really want the house, you might need to go over asking price. But how much? Well, that's where the escalation clause comes in. So what's an escalation clause? Well, you can kind of think about it like eBay. With an escalation clause, you make your initial offer along with a clause that says you're also willing to beat any other offer who comes in that's higher than yours up to your maximum threshold. So for example, your escalation clause might be structured to say something like this. We're offering $425,000, but we'll beat any other offer by $2,000 up to our maximum threshold of $440,000. And that incremental increase that you offer, which in this example is $2,000, well, that matters. You want it to be a number that's significant and valuable in case your offer is side by side with another offer that also escalates. If that other offer says they're willing to escalate by $2,000, but your offer says you're willing to escalate by $4,000, well, you're more likely going to be the winning bidder. The escalation clause lets you stay competitive without blindly overpaying. It gives you flexibility, but it also shows the seller that you're serious. And in places like Blacksburg, where inventory is low and demand is high, this can be a tool that helps you win the deal. Now, the key is knowing your max number and crafting your offer to be both smart and strong. #2, and next up, earnest money, or as some people call it, a good faith deposit. And the amount of the earnest money deposit says to the seller, I'm serious. In the New River Valley, earnest money deposits, or EMDs as we call them, often range between 1% and 3% of the purchase price. But when you're competing with multiple buyers, offering a higher EMD that's still within your comfort zone can show confidence and commitment. Now, the earnest money deposit is credited towards your closing costs, or it's refunded back to you if you back out at a reason that allows you to, given the contingencies in the contract. So for example, let's say that the lender can't actually give you the financing even though you've gotten pre-approved and done everything on your end, submitting all the information that you need. Well, generally speaking, in that scenario, you would get to keep your earnest money deposit and walk away from the purchase. So the stronger your contingencies, well, the safer your EMD. But if you waive contingencies and something goes sideways during the purchase process, the seller might ask to keep your EMD for their trouble. So the bottom line, a strong earnest money deposit sends a message to the seller that you're prepared, you're serious, and you're not likely to waste their time. #3 is your loan or financing type. And this element often gets overlooked by buyers, but man, it can have a major impact on how your offer is received by the sellers. So when a seller is reviewing multiple offers, they're not just looking at how much you're offering, They're also asking themselves, well, how likely is this deal to actually close? And that is where your financing type matters. So here's how it breaks down. Cash first. Cash offers are the gold standard. Cash offers have no lender, no appraisal, no financing contingencies to work through, just a fast, clean transaction. So if you can buy in cash, your offer instantly becomes more attractive, even if the price, well, even if it's slightly lower than a financed offer. Now, conventional loans are typically seen as the next best thing. They tend to be faster, come with fewer restrictions compared to government-backed loans, and sellers generally view conventional financing as pretty strong and straightforward, especially when it's paired with a solid pre-approval letter from a local lender and a healthy down payment. And then we have FHA, VA, and USDA loans. And now, while these are incredibly valuable for buyers, they can raise red flags for sellers, especially in competitive situations. These loans come with stricter appraisal and property condition requirements, which it can create uncertainties or delays. And sellers might worry about being asked to make repairs or about their home not meeting these government standards. Now, that doesn't mean you can't win a home with an FHA or VA loan. In fact, we've helped many buyers do just that. But if you're using one, your offer might need to be stronger in some other areas, like price, earnest money deposit, or your flexibility, in order to compensate for that financing type. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to craft all these different criteria into your offer that not only protect you, but also collectively are the most appealing offer to the seller. So with financing, the most important thing is to be transparent and to work with a local lender who can move quickly and provide a strong pre-approval letter that gives the seller some confidence. Because at the end of the day, the type of loan you use, and truly the lender you get it from, can either strengthen your offer or require you to sweeten it in some other ways. Number 4 is something called appraisal gap coverage. So while we're on the topic of the dollars and cents parts of your offer, let's talk about this lesser known but still incredibly important element that you could choose to include, and that's something called the appraisal gap. In a competitive market like ours, buyers often offer more than the list price, but lenders can only finance what the home actually appraises for. So if you offer $440,000 and the home appraises at $420,000, there's a $20,000 gap, and that could kill the deal unless you're prepared to front the difference with cash. And that's where the appraisal gap coverage comes in. And it's a clause in your offer that basically says, if the home appraises low, I agree to pay up to a certain specific amount of money out of pocket to make up that difference. So, for example, you might say, well, if the appraisal comes in low, I'm willing to pay $5,000 out of pocket to make up that difference. See, appraisals can be super subjective, and it's really based on the opinion of that one appraiser. And as crazy as it may sound, 2 different appraisers might view the value of the property completely differently. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that you just waive the appraisal contingency entirely, but it does give the seller some confidence that you won't walk away over a few $1,000s difference in appraised value. So including an appraisal gap reassures the seller of the likelihood that your offer will stick, even if the appraisal doesn't. And we've seen this make a difference time and time again in neighborhoods where competitive sales really haven't caught up to the demand, or where unique features make valuation kind of tricky. And in the majority of those cases, the appraised values actually came in just fine. The appraisal gap clause, however, just kind of sweetened the deal for the seller by giving that greater sense of security. Now, just make sure if you are including this, make sure you have the liquid funds available to cover that gap on top of your down payment and closing costs. Number 5, next up is your home inspection contingency, which is a crucial protection for buyers, but also a key place to show sellers just how committed and reasonable you are. The inspection contingency gives you a window, and it's usually about a 10 business day period to inspect the home and either move forward, request repairs or a credit, or back out if the seller and the buyer can't come to terms on the repairs request. And in competitive situations, buyers are often shortening this window to show the seller that if the home sale does fall through because of something discovered in the inspection, well, the seller can still quickly get their home back on the market for another potential buyer. But my favorite strategy of all is including an inspection contingency that has a negotiation threshold. So check this out. The contingency tells the seller up front that you won't ask for repairs or a credit unless the inspection uncovers issues over a certain dollar threshold amount. So for example, your offer might say something like this: The inspection is for the purchaser's information only. If, however, the inspection report reveals repairs that are needed greater than $5,000, as quoted by a licensed contractor, then the purchaser has the right to renegotiate the terms of the purchase. And if no agreement can be met, well, then the purchaser reserves the right to terminate the contract and receive a full refund of their earnest money deposit. So let's break all that down strategically and what that means for you. It gives the seller some confidence that you're not gonna nickel and dime them over minor stuff like an outlet or a handrail that needs to be tightened. But it also protects you as the buyer from big ticket issues like foundation, roof, or HVAC problems. So it really is a win-win. The seller sees that you're both serious and reasonable, and you still get to protect yourself from those high dollar issues. Now, me personally, as a home buyer, I personally love the peace of mind that an inspection provides. And so I love to see my buyer clients also get that same peace of mind. But in a market like Blacksburg's or Christiansburg's, being flexible with how you strategically structure it can help be competitive without sacrificing safety. Number 6 is your closing timeline. And this next thing that we're considering is timing, and that's often just as important as money. The standard closing timeframe in our market is around 30 to 40 days, but sellers sometimes need something faster or slower. They might be relocating and need to close quickly, or perhaps they might be building a new home and need some extra time. So offering a flexible closing date or agreeing to close on the property but perhaps rent it back to the sellers for a short period of time can give you a huge edge. And the seller might just choose your offer not because it's the highest price, but because it's the most convenient or helpful for them. Which brings us to number 7, finally, and this one is huge. It's not always about price or terms. Sometimes that deciding factor is purely personal. Maybe the seller wants to leave their swing set for the next family. Or maybe they're sentimental and want to know who's moving in and how they're going to use the home. Maybe they just had a terrible experience with another buyer or that buyer's agent, and now they just value clear communication and certainty over a few extra bucks. This is where your agent's communication with the seller's agent is critical. When preparing an offer, we always ask what's most important to the seller. And once we know that, we work with you to build your offer around it. Because we've seen numerous clients win with real estate because we first took the time to understand that the sellers are people first. Because house aside and sales price aside, these are people just like you, just like me, who have things that excite them, things that make them feel nervous, things that stress them out, or things that appeal to their outlook on life. So whatever the reason, the best offers are not just aligning financially, but aligning emotionally. So let's wrap it up. Here's your checklist of things to consider when compiling a strong offer to buy in Blacksburg, Christiansburg, or the New River Valley in general. Number 1, purchase price and escalation clause, because smart pricing helps you stay competitive. Number 2 is the earnest money deposit, which is one of the ways you can show you're serious. Number 3 is the financing type, because it impacts how likely the deal is to actually make it to the closing table. Number 4 is that appraisal gap coverage, because it gives the sellers an added sense of security while also making sure the deal doesn't fall apart for you either. Number 5 is the inspection contingency, which is where you can protect yourself as buyers without scaring the seller. Number 6 is your closing timeline, so you can show flexibility where you can. And number 7 is, of course, that seller motivation, so you can align with what really matters to them. This market can move super fast, and the best prepared buyers are often the ones who actually win. Of course, we'll work with you to determine the level of competition necessary for the market conditions, but even so, most importantly, that which aligns with your comfort level. So what do you think? Are you considering buying a home here in the New River Valley? If so, please reach out to me directly. My email address and cell phone number on the screen, and I would love to chat with you personally about what it could look like for you to win with real estate. And as always, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can continue to follow along about all things living in the New River Valley. I look forward to helping you live well here in the NRV. Thanks so much.